What's going on, Kingdom Diplomats? This your boy coming in at you live. About to get started here within the next minute, maybe two. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Shout out to all my veterans, all my vets. God bless you. And obviously the ones that didn't make it back, special shout out to them. Definitely not forgotten. About 60 seconds, guys. 60 seconds. Thirty more seconds. 30 more seconds. All right, all right, all right. You guys ready? Ready to go on this roller coaster ride? As I said before, I'll say it again. Shout out to you veterans. Man, we love you guys and girls. All the sacrifice that you guys have done. I know for a lot of people out there, it's a trying, sad day. Actually, one of my brothers sent me a picture of him and my nephews going to our dad's because he was in the Navy. I think he went in at 17 years young, and he sent me a picture of him and my nephews there at the grave site, at the veterans grave site. So if you're a veteran, thank you guys so much for everything you've done and are doing. If you're currently in service, I have a lot of veterans in my family. As I said before, my dad, our son, former vet, or is a vet, and a lot of family members that served our country. So a shout out to you guys. And unfortunately, it shouldn't be, something that we do on a national holiday. It should be honor and respect to them every day, right? So definitely want to mention that. That's extremely important. And so I'm sure you're looking at my title right now. Hopefully you are. Actually, let me hang on, guys. Let me turn my notifications off, which I forgot. Okay. So it's entitled The Value of the Whole You. The value of the whole you. WHOLE. And I'm talking about spirit, soul, and body. And so this week, what I'm going to go over, I'm going to work from the outside in. The outside in. So I'm going to start with the body. So the value of the body. Now, welcome if you are on here for the first time listening to me. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Please subscribe. If you haven't, please like. Also, Here, let me delve into this a little bit. I haven't said this at all, but I put this in my notes. I'm definitely proud of you for if you're doing this, regularly, consistently, and also proud of you again if you've been in here for the first time. And here's why: it's because of these questions that I'm sure I stirred up into your mind through the years in your life, conversations that you had with yourself, maybe with some of your best friends, and things that you wouldn't share, with a lot of people about, those 5 questions that I've mentioned, in the past. And I'll mention to you real quick. So, who are you? Your identity, why are you here? Where are you from? And I'm not talking about where you were born physically. It's much deeper than that. Where you're going, what's your vision? What vision was put inside of you? Just like inside of every seed, there's a stalk, a tree of some kind, a plant. And, what can you do? Your gifts. Everybody has a gift. All 8 billion plus of us are not mistakes. Okay. So I just want to say I'm proud of you because it makes me what it does. It makes me work harder. It makes me, study harder. It makes me read more to bring you better content and more content to empower my subscribers and the people that are following me. And not only just for you guys, but also for your families, for your friends, for your community, also for our country and other countries, our continent, and ultimately our world, right? Because we're all part of the human race. And that's just something that burns, bright and passionately in me to empower people to understand those 5 questions. So, yeah, so because of you guys, it brings the best out of me. It makes me want to dig deeper, more into myself, challenge myself more, and empower you. So, all right, here's just a short story. So I like telling stories. I like listening to stories. One of my favorites is actually listening to and watching like animal programs. I love listening to people who do voiceovers, man. Like they have the perfect voice telling stories. Like Morgan Freeman, who else was it? Even Oprah has a very good storytelling voice. Some other people that their names are eluding to me, but I like telling stories because everybody has a story. I like to say that everybody has a best-selling book if they know how to capture a story and to expand on it and kind of articulate that to other people so where they can learn um, or where other people can learn rather and benefit from their story, life lessons, principles, laws, and things that they've learned to add value to their lives, to their life and other people. So there was a rich man, and he was a multi millionaire. Could buy anything on this planet. I mean, the best. He can buy a Bugatti, which is worth at least $1 million. He can buy a $10 million home. He can buy anything on this planet, whatever he wanted, his heart's desire, right? But unbeknownst to him, after about 30 years doing what he wanted to do, when he wanted to do it, with whom he wanted to do it, for how long he wanted to do it, he had a sharp pain in his back. Well, he didn't think anything of it at first. And then after a while, just living life, right? And just doing what he did the previous 30, 40 years of his life, that pain got more consistent and that pain got deeper and more sharper. So he finally went to the doctors and they ran a CAT scan on him and found out that this man had a disease. And it was, they diagnosed him with stage 4 cancer. So now his life is upside down, right? So 30, 40 years, he can buy anything. Obviously building the business that he had for those decades, and he learned some business principles and had to earn the trust of people. He had a product or service that served his niche in the marketplace. But one thing he didn't have is he didn't have his health, right? His physical health. Um, and so it really questioned him tremendously, right? It questioned the things that he did. It's when things like that happen, things come into perspective, right? Those five questions, right? And so, I wanted to drop that on you because it's a lot of impact, on a human being when stuff like that happens, right? So how that person, when news comes, whether it's good news, bad news, or news that's indifferent, how do you react to it? Or should I say, how do you respond? So out of the abundance of the mind, the mouth will speak, right? That's a law. So I'm not going to get into that right now. But here's what I wanted to get into per my title. I want to talk about the body because, governments, corporations, businesses, billions upon billions of dollars have been spent, invested, researchers, done on the body, trying to make the body healthier, trying to live longer. What can we do with the body, right? And not only that, we do a lot of exercise, food, right? That type of thing, water or beverages and everything that we ingest into this physical body. But yet, this physical body actually is worth about $10 or less. Now, I say that, when you do a little bit of research, it has minerals in it. It has, it's made up of trillions of cells. So it does have value, right? But guess what? In order to live on this planet, and as I said before last week, in order to have authority, what's authority? The authority is the legal right to make decisions and give commands, right? And you have to have, and along with that authority comes power. What does the word power mean? Power means to control circumstances. That's what every human being desires, right? In order to live on this planet and stay on this planet, you have to have a body, right? So if you're just now tuning in for the first time, I proved to my audience and other people that are watching, outside of my audience, that man is a spirit, has a soul, or has a body, well, let me say that again, is a spirit, right? Has a body and also has a soul, right? Which is made up of your mind, your will, your emotions, and intellect. So now let me stay on point here. So it's very significant, as I said before. Now, the body is made up of 60 to 70, as much as 80% of water, right? And water has organic compounds. Let me just read this to you. So I looked this up. So 60 to 80% water. It has organic compounds, okay? Proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, nucleic acids, which are made up of DNA. You've heard of that acronym before. Your DNA, right? That little kind of strand that kind of looks like a snake and kind of going around each other, that makes up your body, right? And your DNA, basically, I'm not going to say is you because the spirit is you, right? But your body is actually kind of like I like to use an analogy of the hand and the glove, right? If you put a glove over your hand, remember the Michael Jackson glitter hands, right? At one point in time, I think just about everybody wanted to be like Mike, right? Not MJ, but Michael Jackson. But anyway, so when you take the glove off your hand and you drop the glove, right, the glove falls to the ground. So in other words, when the body if when the body is worn out, or should I say the brain is worn out, which is part of the body, then eviction takes place, right? The spirit leaves the body and the body goes back to into the ground. Okay. So it also says not only DNA, but RNA, right? And you can look this up yourself. So it stores and transmits genetic or general information. So I say, so knowledge, so our body is this magnificent mechanism that the manufacturer gave to us, mankind, the species mankind, the product, right? Made on the same plane as the manufacturer, right? Okay. So with that being said, this is a little bit more detailed, technical, live right here. So it's a super duper, again, magnificent, amazing mechanism that was put together for us for a purpose. See, everything has a purpose. There's certain insect, I'm not sure if you know this, but there's certain insect that can only see one color, right? And that insect is supposed to pollinate a flower, right? So it can't see anything else but that flower. So that flower has a purpose, and also that insect has a purpose, right? And all of them are products. So all products have to have a manufacturer. Okay. Now let's talk about your brain. Now I've said this before on previous occasions. Our brain does 20,000 trillion calculations per second. Say that with me. 20,000 trillion calculations per second. Now, I don't think, but let's just say, I believe that when they used to coin the phrase, these corporations called the smartphone, they were making fun of us, right? Because actually, we are the smart ones, right? So the phone actually, I don't know if you know this, but the phone is actually like a kind of like an artificial intelligence to mimic our brain. Think about that for a minute. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. So it's basically a miracle machine, right? It's a miracle machine. Okay. Here's a quick side note. If in this country we eat ourselves to death, right? We shouldn't live to eat, but we should eat to live. There's a word called autophagy. So like auto, right? Automatic, and then tophagy. So Phagy. So you got AUTOPHAGY. So what is that, Tyreek? So essentially what it is like a recycling system. You're very familiar with that vernacular and that vocabulary, right? So if you go, researchers say, if you go like on a fast, right, just drinking water, maybe you put a lemon or lime or something in it or something like that. But after 72 hours, or right at 72 hours, our body goes into what they call as a recycling phase. So guess what? What if you had cancer? What if you had inflammation? What if you had any type of itis in your body? Pain? What if you tore a muscle? What if you, whatever it is, at that 72-hour period, follow me now, your stem cells, they go into your body, and what do? They start, basically, the cells start eating themselves. That sounds crazy, like cannibalism, right? But, and it also, they go through your cells, go through your whole body, right? Because it has, I think it's like 4 to 7 trillion cells in your whole body. And what they do is they go to start mending things back together again, right? Getting rid of inflammation, getting rid of this disease. If you got that disease, maybe you got diabetes, maybe you have whatever's going on in your body, and even things that you don't know, because the pain that you feel, prior to that, your body actually has to reach a certain threshold. I don't know if you know that. It has to reach a certain percentage of a threshold before you even start to notice something's wrong. So you may not even know that there's a whole bunch of things wrong with you, right? Because let's be honest, when you look at the things that are in our food and our water and everything like that, obviously there's a lot of contaminants in it, right? There's a lot of poison in a lot of that, things in the air, right? Things in the materials that are made, right? That are allowed in this country as opposed to maybe Europe or other countries, right? So I'm gonna let you think about that yourself at another time. Let's go into this next thing. So let's look more into the brain. Okay, so I looked this up right here. Okay, it says the brain is kind of like it's kind of like, I like to liken it to like the engine to a car, right? And your heart's like the transmission. Okay, it says the brain controls basic life support of breathing, your heart rate, to complex activities like thought, memory, and movement, right? Stuff we don't even think about, we take for granted, right? We take air for granted until you can't get any more air, right? We take food for granted until you start going 2, 3, 4, 5 days without food, right? And biologically speaking, I think they said we can't go 3 weeks without food and 3 days without water, something like that. And so it also says about the brain, the central control system coordinating sensory input. So your five senses, right? Dealing with your brain. This complex machine that's inside here, right? Interpreting it and sending signals to other parts of the body. So it's like a highway system, right? Some people want to call it a machine, right? A complex machine. Well, a complex machine has to have a complex maker, manufacturer. Okay. Now let's get into this right here. Now, I'm going to get into the Constitution called the Bible, right? If you've been following me, if you're new, just hang in there, right? If you're with a different religion, don't worry. I'm not part of any religion, especially the top four. Okay, so it doesn't offend me whatsoever. If you keep listening or leave or whatever like that, doesn't matter to me. But I want you to hang in there, right? Okay, so keep listening to this. Now, I'm gonna delve into the Constitution. Okay, now it says in Genesis 1:26. Okay, I said this before. This is the original idea of, and I'm still talking about the body now. Okay, Genesis 1:26 NIV. It says that basically, let us, talking about the Trinity, right? God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, make man in our image and in our likeness. Essentially, what that means is spiritual characteristics, and it also means to function like. So we're created on the same plane. I'm talking about mankind, the species, okay? Called Adam. Adam, as I said before, is a title. It's not a name, it's a title, okay? And so it's basically saying that oh, let me back up here also too. This bears repeating again. So the Bible basically is about a king, a kingdom, and a species, a royal species. Hence the name of my podcast, right? Has a crown on it, a royal species called mankind. Yes, you. I'm talking to you. You're a royal species, right? Called mankind. Okay. Now, let's get on to this next one. So, let me bring this up here a little bit. I was supposed to move this over right here, and I want to get into this a little bit because there's some things that you guys have been thinking about through the years, and maybe nobody's answered it. And what happens when you don't get the right information? Well, sometimes you end up going back, into you maybe if you're interested or you start developing an interest in it, you start delving into things maybe you shouldn't be delving into, or you start asking, even worse, you start asking other people, other products, right? And maybe you don't know that, right? So that's some of the things that I did, right? I started looking in the wrong places and different things like that. So let me help you out with that. Okay, so I did tell you about. Let me finish Genesis 1:26. So it said, "Let us make man in our image and in our likeness." So function like that. And it says, "Let them," talking about the royal species called mankind, "have dominion." Take not over each other. You can look that up. You should look that up when you get off of here. Genesis 1:26 NIV. So it said, "Let them have dominion over the earth. Now, what did I say before? In order to live on this planet, you have to have a flesh, bone, blood, quotations, body. Okay. I'm just going to say I'll leave that alone for another time. I'm not going to get into that right now, so I can stay on track. Okay. So, and it also says that we have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and every creeping thing, right? So we're not supposed to be afraid of any of those things. You know what? I actually seen this. I showed my wife this. I seen this young lady. She couldn't have been no more than maybe 18, anywhere from 16 to 18 and 16 to 20, something like that. She was in the water. This had to be like in the southern parts of the state with an alligator, right? And she was actually talking to it, and God is my witness. That young lady was probably about 5 feet away. She was facing it and talking to the alligator, and the alligator was just like a little puppy. And she didn't have food in her hand, which was smart. Don't do that. Some of you was like, man, you are food. Now, wait a minute now. This young lady, she may have not even known that she had dominion over it, but she wasn't afraid. See, animals can sense fear. When you afraid of something, it emits a chemical in the air. I don't know if you knew that. And dogs can sense that. Animals can sense that, right? Anyway, so she actually had that thing tamed. She understood as a human being, a royal species, part of the royal species called mankind. She has dominion over that animal. And that thing came all the way up to her. I think, if I remember correctly, she touched that thing's nose. And I'm telling you, that thing had to be at least 12 feet from nose to tail, somewhere around that area. So I was like, oh my gosh. You could probably look it up on YouTube. It was on YouTube. It just floored me with that, right? And many of you are afraid of like little bugs jumping on you, shame on you. Anyway, you got to get that fear out of you, because fear is also has a twin called doubt. So that's a whole nother topic in itself. Just look at some of my previous talks. So, all right, so let's get into this. So the book of Romans, this was by Paul, the apostle, in the book of Romans. It is Romans 7:23 and 4. Again, this is NIV because it's contemporary. So let's get into this real quick. So it says that, Paul is saying, but I see another law at work in me. So if you've seen some of my previous talks, it talks about, I always like talking about laws. Why? Because you can determine how successful you will be in life based upon the laws you know or don't know. Okay? Let me say that again. You can plan your success in life if you know the right laws, natural laws and unseen laws. Some people call them spiritual laws, right? Okay. And it says, Paul is saying, and I know I'm just taking a part of a scripture. You never do that, but I need to do it for this particular one. So it says, but I see another law at work in me. So what's he talking about? This is talking about the flesh, right? Because remember what I said, I'm going out from the outside in. I'm going to start with the flesh this week. Then I'm going to move into the soul, mind, will, emotions, and intellect, our decision making, our emotions, all that stuff. And then I'm going to head into the body, okay? Or head into the spirit, which is the real you or me, right? So when you look in the mirror, every time you look in the mirror after you've seen this podcast right here, that's you looking at you, which is your eyes, and they're the windows of your soul, okay? Now, let me say that again. So it says, but I see another law at work in me, waging war against the law of my mind. You ever had a machine gun of thoughts come at your mind at different times, especially when you're sleepy, you're tired, you're worn out, you worked, all day or all week, right? All these things are coming at you at different angles, right? And it seems like life is overwhelming, and you start getting these thoughts. A lot of them are bad thoughts, as far as many different things, right? We all get them, right? Because we're in this world, right? We're in this body, okay? So there's a war going on, right? And most people on this planet don't even know that what I just told you. that they're a spirit and they have a soul. Some people just think they're a body, and some people just believe that they're just a soul in a body, right? So they're missing one third or or they're missing a third, which is the most important part, your spirit, but they all play a key role altogether. So again, it's kind of like the Mercedes emblem, right? Everybody's seen a Mercedes emblem. You have that circle and you have three lines, right? They're all congruent. Same, they're at this kind of like this Y, right? But they're the same length, right? Within that circle, you have the same diameter, okay? Same circumference, right? So there's a lot of in the Greek, the Trinity is called like an anthropomorphism. So basically, what it's saying is that God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, basically what they're saying is that they're all equal. Okay, they're all omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, all the O's and everything right there, all powerful, but they have three different roles. Another example I can give you is kind of like steam, right? Steam can help cook your food, cook our food, right? But steam can burn too if it goes below a certain temperature, right? The environment below freezing is 32 degrees, it freezes, right? You see what I'm saying? You can walk on it, right? If it's hard enough, thick enough, right? A car can go over a lake if it goes below a certain amount of temperature, right? At negative, what was it, 272? I forgot, somewhere around there. But at a certain degrees, and it's a negative 200 and something degrees, there's no heat in the air. So anyway, you get what I'm saying with that. And then you also have what? Water, right? It's fluid, it's liquid, it just flows, it's energy. Okay, all three forms of energy. So hopefully you get what I'm saying, right? So when you think about yourself, think about spirit, soul, and body. See, I told you you have value at every single level, right? So now what I'm doing is I'm shedding light. I'm giving you light. So you're no longer, if you continue to follow me and research the things that I'm telling you to research and start delving in yourself, guess what will happen? You start to add more value to your body, your soul, and your spirit. Okay. So in closing, let me finish this Romans 7:23-24. Okay. So let me start from the beginning again. But I see another law at work in me, waging war against the law of my mind. So there's a there's a war going on, right? A war, a battlefield of the mind, right? That's where it's won or lost in life. And making me a prisoner. Whoa, what did I say about that before in my previous talks? Stronghold. You should look up that word yourself. What is a stronghold? Okay. It's basically a system of thoughts, right, that can have you bound. And that's why media is so important, right? So you're looking at me and I'm producing media of positive of laws in the seen and unseen. Why? So you can be empowered and you can tear down the strongholds like I've been able to tear down some strongholds in my mind, not all of them, because I'm not as free. See, freedom has to do with thinking, right? Learning the right unseen and seen laws into our mind over and over and over again. It produces freedom. So guess what? You don't have to chase money. You shouldn't chase money anyway, because money will run from you. That's another law I don't have time to get into. I talked about the law of management last week. But the more you chase money, the more it runs from you, right? See, I'm learning and I've learned, and I can tell you to a high degree, not the highest degree, but a higher degree compared to where I was 5 years ago. Money chases me, opportunities chase me, right? Because I learned a lot of these laws, and I'm still learning more about some of the same laws I learned years ago. I'm learning new laws, okay? But again, so the law of my mind is making me a prisoner of the law of sin at work within me. Now, what is sin? Well, somebody may say, oh man, there he goes talking about that religion. Well, let's go over a quick definition of what a religion is. Religion basically means the worship of a deity through a set of beliefs expressed through what? Customs, rituals, rites, right? Traditions, all that type of thing. System of rules, right? That is not, sin is actually not a religious word, okay? No, I don't care who you talk to. I don't care if they're on TV. I don't care how many people they have going to their church. I don't care who they are. I don't care what religion they're part of. Sin is actually, if you look it up by definition, look it up in the Hebrew, look it up in the Greek, it's not a religious word. Sin is a legal term. It means to rebel and commit anarchy. Well, you can't rebel in a religion. You can only commit sin against a government. Okay, same thing is like the word ministry. Ministry is actually a government word. It's not a religious word. You know, you may have a minister of defense and have a ministry of defense, right? You may have a ministry of education or so on and so forth. So different governments have different things I'm talking about in the natural, all right? And then it says, what a wretched man I am, who will rescue me from, okay, here's what I wanted to get to, from this body. Okay, I told you body is very important. That is subject, submarine, submission, below, ject, basically becoming a slave to death. Okay, so anyway, so essentially what Paul is basically saying is that there's a law that the Lord gave us. The Lord means owner and ruler, right? Creator, gave mankind, us, a royal species, what? He gave us the law of life, right? At the beginning in Genesis, okay? And what Adam did was that he knew he was not supposed to eat of those two trees, right? And so that was basically a law. So you got to remember something, because we were born and conditioned up under a democratic republic, which is from the Greeks, okay? We don't understand kingship, okay? So if you want to understand this constitution called the Bible, you have to study basic kingdom principles. You have to. If not, you're going to come to the wrong conclusion every single time, okay? So in closing, a king, what? Desires basically to expand, right? And his word is law. Now in the natural, the same thing with a queen. Her word is law, right? They're called scribes. They write down the king or queen's words, and they are law. So the citizens have to abide by the law of the king or the queen. I say that to say this. So when we submit or when we disobey a law, you're supposed to stop at a stop sign, right? That's the law, right? Complete stop. And then if we just run right through it, we break that law. We make a new law, right? And you keep doing it over and over again, you start developing a bad habit. And eventually you break a law, somebody's coming from another direction, they break a law, and what happens? You have a wreck. You have a chaos, right? Disorder. You notice the universe is not in disorder, it's not in chaos. Okay, so guess what? It's the same thing that applies to our body. When we overeat, if we eat it, the America and other societies are eating themselves to death, right? And therefore they're breaking laws that were put in the body. The body is a product, right? And a product has a manufacturer. Okay, so and the manufacturer also has a manual, right? In this case, called the Bible. Okay. Now, again, I'm not religious. I'm not part of any religion. Okay. But I want you to understand something, whether you're Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, Rastafarian, whatever, Christian, doesn't matter. Okay. I need you to get this, right? Now, if you want to know more about it, open the kingdom book, right? Open the government book, right? Learn about the social policies in the government book. Learn about the military in the government book. Learn about the economic policies, right? There's a financial famine coming. There's a lot of people out there don't want me to say that. They don't want you to know about that. They've been hiding it through the media, right? That's okay. There's millions of people that know some of the things that I know. Some people know more than I know, but I want to let you know that you need to know what to do, and when it comes, how to navigate it. Actually, before that, right? It's good to be already prepared for something that's coming ahead of time, right? And I've said that in previous talks before about the law of management, finances and everything like that. But guess what? If you don't know the laws of your body and you violate them, your body will break down, right? And that's happened to me before, right? So, all right, guys. So that's pretty much it. In closing, please subscribe if you haven't. If you're new, welcome. Keep following me. Hope you listen to this at least 3 times. Researchers say listen to something at least 7 times. Take some notes for you to grasp the concept, right? Okay. I basically just empowered you. I armed you of things that you may have not known about your body, the body you've been given, right? You only get one, so you got to take care of it, right? Some of you know some people who are in hospital right now because they didn't take care of their body. Some of you know some people who lost a limb because they didn't take care. They violated laws. See, in our bodies, see the manufacturer that makes a product, just in general, think about it, a phone, a car, anything like that, built in that product laws of success. Okay. So if you say, you know what, for my phone, I want to play frisbee with it. I don't care about what the manufacturer, Apple or Samsung says, and I'm just going to toss my phone in the air and I'm going to toss it around. I'm going to throw it over here and everything. Eventually, that phone's going to break, and you null and void that guarantee, right? Right? You null and void that guarantee. It's done. It's over with, right? If you open it up and let's say it's under warranty and you start tampering with it, right? You void that guarantee, right? You mess everything up about it, right? The manufacturer is no longer responsible for you. Same thing with this body. If we mess this body up and we disregard, we ignore, we disobey the law that God has put in the body, guess what? He is not responsible for it. But flip it on the other side, dear one. If you follow his laws that he has in that kingdom book, that government book, guess what's going to happen? Then you force the manufacturer, because when the product succeeds, the manufacturer succeeds. Okay. You have the warranty and you have the guarantees, right? So, anyway, I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. You guys are very, very smart, extremely smart. So, let me leave you with this, a dose of confidence. All right. So a bird, as I said before, has built in it flight. A bird does not go to a flight school, right? It already has it, right? A fish the same way, right? A fish doesn't go to a fish school and learn how to swim. That law is already built in that fish to know how to swim automatically. It's innately, right? So you, as part of the royal species called mankind, have a gift built already on the inside of you. You have everything that you need built inside of you already. You just need to know the laws, right? And then you need to understand them. And then what? You need to act on them, which is wisdom. Okay, so you got knowledge, information. Opposite of information is what? Darkness. Okay, lack of knowledge. And then you have understanding. Understanding means comprehension. You should write this down, comprehension. And then last but not least, you have wisdom. 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 Wise right? Dominion. That means action. Okay? Some of y'all get that later on. Dominion. I said that before. Okay? So the most important domain in your physical body is the real estate that's between your ears, the 6 inches between your ears. That's the most important. Okay, that and the economy, right? The media that you ingest into your 5 senses, you read, you listen to over and over again, the media that you've already ingested before you even started following me, is where you are in life in every area, and is where I am in life in every area. So I'm not satisfied in any, and I'm thankful for many areas that I've improved on, but I'm not satisfied with it, right? Are you feeling me? So I hope you're not either, because there's generations that are coming behind you, and there's people that are watching you and listening to you, and you're influencing them, right? Because you're a leader trapped in a follower. Okay. Now, So that's basically it, guys. I'm done. Again, please subscribe if you haven't. Please like, please forward this to other people. And as I said before, I'm in the process of working on a course, working on some coaching avenues, working on some other products, services that I can offer as I put together a program to help people. And you guys have a great week. Remember some of the homework that I gave you. If you don't know what it is, go back to some of my talks and please follow that. Add value to yourself and other people. Don't forget to smile. It helps out your body. It helps out your psyche. It helps out other people when you smile. Even force yourself to smile. Even when you don't feel like it, laugh, fake laugh. It releases amazing chemicals inside you that promotes health. Okay, you guys have a great night. Be safe. Have a great week. And don't forget, you are a kingdom diplomat, whether you know it or not.